We're good?
You're good.
Like allegiance to the
The Republic stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The village of New Paltz Company acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Muncie Silvans and Lenape people. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 forced the people to relocate to inhospitable territory far from the bountiful valley and mountains we inhabit today. The village further acknowledges that much of the physical structure of our village and town was built by enslaved Africans who labored as the property of their owners until 1827 on this very land. We acknowledge and honor the contributions, resilience, and accomplishments of BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, and people of color who've overcome historic injustice to inform our past and inspire our future. The village of New Paltz encourages everyone to learn more about the contributions and sacrifices made by the Indigenous people and enslaved Africans by visiting the sites that are listed in our agendas and minutes and on our website. And if you have any resources to add, please contact us. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna add things to the public hearing this evening. So we have two public hearings already on the agenda, and I'm adding a third, and this is related to the 2025 small cities public hearing. Mark Lauer is here and he'll explain to us details regarding this public hearing. And then I don't need to add anything within the consent agenda. However, in the business agenda, I would like to add several items. Item number 2, sidewalk project update from Mark Lauer. Item number 3, fire station solar array update. Item number 4, Ulster County Transportation Council project that we submitted a expression of interest letter. Item number 5, related to the public hearing for the annexation petition for the public apartments. And item number 7, regatta, parade, and boat race details. And that is it. I'd like to move to the consent agenda and move that we accept the business agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any announcements from the village board?
I have a couple. First, I wanted to take this as a chance to share an update from our county comptroller, March Gallagher, who had just released like the annual emergency housing snapshot report. So definitely I encourage people to go and find that online and read it more in depth. But I pulled up some points that relate to actually agenda items that we've had in the past year. So emergency shelter costs have grown from 3.8 million in 2020 to 13.3 million in 2024. The 2024 expenses were paid in part by funding from New York State through the Family Assistance, Safety Net Assistance, and Emergency Assistance to both programs, with the remainder, which is 48.7%, borne by Ulster County taxpayers, so that's 6.5 million. And the number of nights spent in emergency housing, as far as the county even knows, by the way, this doesn't involve just DIY mutual aid, right? So the number of nights spent in emergency housing has moved from 51,781 nights at $73.65 per night in 2020 to 129,170 nights at $102.86 per night in 2024. So that is a 248% increase in the number of nights, and the nightly cost of rentals has increased during this inflationary period that we're in right now too. According to the annual point in time count, which takes a census of homeless people on a given day in January, where folks are encouraged to report to the most local family, place of family New Paltz here. And basically receive, help and be counted. So that has also grown. The number of homeless people has grown between 2014 and 2024. The number of severely mentally ill people and individuals with substance use disorder that get counted in this point in time count has also increased in the homeless population over the last few years. So that was again from Ulster County Comptroller March Gallagher's emergency housing snapshot report, which you can find on the county website, as well as on the comptroller's social media. And I'll be sharing that too. I also wanted to share that the Landlords and Relations Council is teaming up with the New Paltz chapter of the New York Public Interest Research Group, or NYPIRG, and the New Paltz chapter for the Many, as well as Legal Services of the Hudson Valley for a Know Your Rights workshop on Wednesday, April 16th at 11 a.m. in Student Union Building 401 over on campus. All are welcome to attend. And then April 26th is our Earth Day Festival down on Huguenot Street. We will have a table. Stay tuned because I might make seed bombs part of the table again, as well as another village challenge, but definitely come through. It'll be a great day. We'll also have a garbage truck from County Ways that you can check out, and they're going to bring coloring books. I know, so I'm really excited about that. So yeah, April 26th is Earth Day. And then I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to the New Paltz Pride Coalition resources link that is on our agendas. If you ever see anything missing, reach out, we'll add to it. But they're categorized by different kinds of subtopics. If you need resources, check out that link.
I've got a few as well. As always, Family of New Paltz is our #1 way of helping out our neighbors. People who can go there for everything from food to help with their bills to clothes, you name it. So if you can give any amount or anything that is in excellent condition, please do so. They've also asked me to announce a couple of things. They're doing a basic computer skills for seniors, and they're saying that's 55 and over. So they're offering free one-on-one computer classes to help seniors learn the basics of using a computer every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 at Family of New Paltz, which is 51 North Chestnut Street. So they said, general questions and answers, bring your own device or use one of our computers, basic computer skills, email and online communication, internet browsing, online safety and security. And so that's every Tuesday again at 10 a.m. And then there's also on Thursday, April 24th at 5:30 p.m. a budget and emergency fund seminar at Family of New Paltz, again, 51 North Chestnut Street. So it's learn practical budgeting techniques, discover how to create and grow your emergency fund, gain expert tips to navigate financial challenges, take control of your finances. Join us for an engaging seminar on smart budgeting and building a strong emergency fund to achieve financial stability. So it's them along with Ulster Savings Bank, and I will be posting these on our bulletin board as well. And in addition to that, conversations on the police commission meeting last night, conversations with the police. The next one is Thursday, same date, April 24th at 11 a.m. at the police station.
Any other announcements from the board colleagues?
Just a shout out to our DPW for the quick response. A stop sign at John and Prospect went missing. And then attendants of the call the DPW to alert them to the fact that the stop sign was no longer there. They had a brand new, so that was very quick. Particularly at intersections, fairly dangerous for both cars and pedestrians. Cyclists and just some things.
Great DPW.
Okay, public hearing for the tentative budget is open and remains open. We discussed continuing to talk about it this evening. Is anyone from the public here to make a comment regarding the tentative budget? Anyone online?
No, the person that was online is gone.
Okay. Board colleagues, I'm going to go ahead and suggest that we go ahead and move this item forward. Does anyone have any comments, questions? No? Okay, I'm gonna move that we go ahead and adopt the 25-26 budget. Oh, no, first I'm gonna move that we close the public hearing.
Yes.
All in favor, aye. Second, I'm going to move that we adopt the 25-26 budget. Noteworthy to include that the budget includes 4% increases for non-union staff salaries, and then depending on the contract terms, 4 to 5.5% for union employees. Any further discussion, questions?
No, just on the accusers of the employee benefits.
Noted. Someone want a second?
Second.
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
I move that we open the public hearing regarding the local law to amend Village Code Chapter 178 regarding subdivisions.
Second.
Any, I guess I could say all in favor that we're opening it.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and open it first.
So it's open. Anyone from the public want to make a comment?
I just wanted to point out that in the agenda and in your package are the two comments, the Ulster County Planning Board's response, which was a no county impact, and the local planning board's response is that they support the change. So we have to wait until next meeting though to officially adopt it because of the seeker timeframe.
I'm gonna move that. Thanks for your work on that. I'm gonna move that we close the public hearing. All in favor? And then we're gonna put this as an agenda item during the business section.
For next meeting, and I'll complete the part 2 and 3 seeker for your adoption at next meeting as well. So
I move that we open the public hearing regarding 2025 small cities. And Mark is here to explain to us. Alex seconded it, all in favor. Mark's gonna join us at the table, provide some background.
Thanks, Matt. We did advertise for the small cities public hearing. We all took care of that. That legal ad, it appeared on our website. We posted the notice in various locations throughout the village. And I've got a handout regarding some proposed improvements for this particular grant that John Davidson came up with. And I'll first give a quick overview for the public that's not here, plus the public in the audience, of what the small cities program is. Each year since 1978, the U.S. Department of HUD has made funding available for housing and community development activities. It's a nationwide program. Larger cities and larger counties get an entitlement each year. So New York City, Albany, Buffalo, they get a block grant, as it's called, to spend on activities that primarily benefit people who are moderate income. Counties such as Dutchess County and Orange County have entitlement programs of their own, so they'll divvy up the money to the various communities. So Monroe or Walden and Orange County might get a piece of that grant from the county each year. Ulster County is not an entitlement county. We're called non-entitlement. So we are eligible as an individual municipality to approach the state for portions of roughly $50 million. And it's a competition. And roughly 20 to 25 million of that 50 million is reserved for these competitive programs. And we are given an opportunity to apply each year for this program, typically in July as part of the consolidated funding application process. It's been in July for a number of years now. So last 5 Julys, we've been applying for funding, and we've been fortunate in that we won each time. Some years the grant ceiling was 750,000, then they increased it to $1 million. This last year they increased the ceiling to 1.5 million, and again we won. What we've been applying for is something that is somewhat imperative because of the consent. The ongoing consent order dates back from 2003, relates to the essentially the leaky condition of the older portions of the village sanitary sewer collection system. And at its worst, it's much better now. At its worst, you had situations where heavy rains would cause overflows of various manholes. That still can happen, it still does happen, but not to the degree it did. So we are incrementally making progress. And the work in the last 5 years is not all done. Some of that, one of the projects that we did in a month, the other one's winding down. So that progress tends to follow the grant award by 2-3 years. It takes that long to get the effect. We just got there. So when the consent order actually end, I don't know. We have to make continued progress, and at some future date, the DEC will conclude that we made enough progress to lift the consent order.
Mark, can I share? You may have seen the map that John Davidson from Vermeer and Larios put together. So he color coded it in that we marked off with a particular color. I think it's yellow, all the sections of sewer main that we've already completed. And then red is the stuff that we're doing in the near term that we are receiving an award for. And then we have a third category with a different color for what we would like to do in the future. But it was, we were sitting around the conference room table recently with this giant map that's incredibly colorful. And the fact that it's so colorful with the first color and things that we've already completed was really pretty exciting. I think what's interesting for our community is there's really an opportunity to begin to look at the conveyance system outside of the village. Like that is probably another phase for New Paltz if there, if there ever was a government reorganization or just like a different administration that, could approve on getting that type of repair work done. But go ahead.
So, the idea when we have the public hearing is to ask the public what we should be doing in the future. So the engineer and public works department, even if the board may have an idea of what to do, but the public has an opportunity as well. So that virtually anything that a municipality may do is technically eligible. So that can be water improvements, storm drainage improvements, sidewalk improvements, road improvements, sanitary sewer improvements, lighting improvements. The key thing is to pick something that addresses a serious need and is going to compete well. So that in some years, less than a third of the applicants won. More recently, since the state has upped their expectations substantially, there's less applicants. But we had to jump through a lot of hoops. So that last year, we had to complete a phase 1 archaeological study even before we applied. We had to draft our environmental review record to meet NEPA. We had to complete our secret process. We had to have our engineering selection already done because we have to say in the application that if you give us an approval in November or December, we'll be out to bid in 6 months. And that draconian requirement is leaving a lot by the wayside. We can't do that. And I even have to tell some communities that are saying it'll take 9 months to get permitting, is that maybe you should wait till next year, apply for the permit now, and get that in place. Because if you're dead serious about it, you better be ready to move it. We'll take your money back. Right. So the last year when they another time, we hit it. We had the first ride in construction in 6 months of the award, and that puts us in my opinion in the admirable spot because they told us to jump through the hoops and we jumped through them. And others can't or won't. So that my suggestion, and we have an opportunity for the public to express their ideas, is stay what is working for us. Not only because the sanitary sewer system needs attention, we have a consent order, but it's been working. And the dangerous thing with a consent order is if you don't stick with it, they could come to the village again. If there was a 10-inch rainstorm over 5 hours in the future and there was massive overflows, then and we weren't doing something about it, they could fine us. But I think there's a recognition at DEC that we are doing our very best to move this along. And as the mayor noted, we've made a lot of progress as per the public map. So, very quickly, these streets are tentative. Really depends on John Davidson and Blue coming up with the final list and comparing that to the available budget, which is 1.5 million. I don't recommend asking for $3 million worth of work if you can only get a grant for 1.5 million. If we're modestly above that, that's fine. But again, it's more work proposed here between on Main Street, North Manheim, Mill Rock, perhaps North Oakwood, depending on whether or not that's been done before. We're waiting for input from Little and John Street. So do these streets really, are these the last streets that need to be addressed? No, but these are, from the opinion of John and Blue, the ones that should be done next. So we're doing what we have to do tonight to hold our place in line. We've holding our hearing. And we've already advertised for engineering. I think we got one response. Even though it seems a little silly, we have to, as a village board, score that one response so that we can show that we followed our procurement procedures. Because if you're going to pay an engineer from the grant, you must demonstrate you had an advertising process. We did that. There's no shame getting one response. That's all when one's interested. So we've scored them and provided the village board one response. You can check that box as having been done prior to the application. When I get a little further along with details, I'm going to go back to SHPO and the 4 tribal historic preservation officers. And I'm going to cross my fingers and I'll ask for another archaeological study before July 31st. Some years we don't have to. It depends on the relationship of these streets to the historic district. Again, it's up to them. But that's the idea in mind. If anybody in the remote public or in the audience has some other suggestions or questions about this particular grant opportunity, I'd be willing to happy to answer.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the summary. So regarding the scoring sheet, we can move that forward tonight. We can score it, or what do you suggest we do? Should we review it and then move it at the next meeting?
If everybody's had a chance to look at it and you feel comfortable with scoring now, you certainly can. Or you can wait till next meeting. Applications due in July, so that there's no particular rush.
Okay, great. So we're gonna review it and then put it on that next agenda to adopt the review and the score sheet.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna move that we close this public hearing. All in favor? Again, thank you, Mark. Oh, and you're also here to provide us with an update regarding your latest communication from the New York State DOT because of our new title private setting. The floor is yours, you talking.
Should I reach one call upon for that?
No, it's
Oh, in order to make the engineering fees for bid review, bid award recommendation, contract preparation, and construction period inspection, we have to go to the list of Region 8 engineers that are pre-qualified with the DOT. And we invite them to submit an expression of interest in EOI. That request went out to all the firms on the list by email and by mail. Nicole handled that. The time frame for responses came and went. They were due on the 8th, yesterday. And one firm, Tectonic, responded maybe a few hours late because of the mail arriving when the mail arrived. I asked the DOT representative today by email, is there any problem having only one response? And coming a little bit late, they pretty much said, no, there's no problem. But you should go through their process that was outlined by one of their staffers a few months ago to review that one response and to determine if you're satisfied with that one firm. So that answer came about 3 o'clock this afternoon that having one response only is not a fatal flaw. And at this point, what the village board would need to do is get that one response to everybody who needs to look at it. And I have to refresh my memory as to in terms of what DOT wants us to do in terms of review. and then communicate that through the call to everybody. And then we go through that process, and then with the seal of approval from DOT, we could negotiate a contract with Tectonic if the village board's otherwise satisfied with that firm. I know nothing about them.
So, you and I spoke about this before, and you said you haven't had a chance to look closely at the response, but do we believe that there would be a cost estimate in terms of how much Tectonic would charge for this inspection work?
I believe that the format of the response is just to say you're interested, and it's not specific in terms of cost.
Because I remember when we tried to do this a couple of years ago, and it was related to the Henry W. Bike project, the costs were very wide. Like scary expensive on the high end.
The expectations of DOT, compared to some other agencies, are a little bit steep. And again, these are firms are the ones that want to work on DOT projects. As we've seen, other firms don't want to work on DOT projects.
I seem to remember when we got bids for this project, the first time we tried, the low bid was very high. The high bids were unfathomable.
I have a recollection of that from about 2014 to 2015, but I do recall some of that sense that of the sticker shock.
Yeah. So we'll take a close look at what Tectonic submitted and cross our fingers. Okay.
Is there anything else I want to also ask the question about our ongoing PFC project. Hartman, our archaeologist, had written to me about 2 weeks ago saying that they're a little frustrated with the contractor who at times does not properly communicate. They're sending an archaeologist down to expecting to find work, and they get there, they're not working. Or they tell them at the last possible moment, oh, we're not going to work today. And they've committed an archaeologist to that time slot. And they told me that, well, we expected we're going to build a village for this. I said, well, we have you doing this work, you're doing your job properly, bill us, and then we will decide as a village board, do we want to pursue the extra cost, wasted billing with the construction contractor. And I did get a detailed bill from Harkin that identifies some waste, the time that they spent that wasn't productive. Should I pursue the matter and try to get that reimbursed for the village from the contract?
Yeah, that would be good. So I think I just signed that.
Yeah,
And I was blown away by how expensive their invoice was. Okay, yeah, if you can take a closer look, that would be appreciated.
I mean, that's the nature of what we're getting asked to do at times, is to have ongoing, all the time, archaeological monitoring. I had argued when this project was being formed that we're replacing a water main in a trench that was excavated in, say, 1910. And then steam shovels are blunt instruments of excavation. They're not scalpels. So they went in there, and our grandfathers and great grandfathers went in there and dug it up and put a water main. And now we're replacing the same trench. And my argument was that it's already been pretty well disturbed, pretty well homogenized. And why do we need to do more archaeology? What are you going to find? So,
Well, we've had projects like this before, and then you get the box of material that they found, and it's, like broken pieces of glass and, weird bottle cap. I don't know that they're.
it was mighty expensive bottle caps.
Yeah. I have them in my office because when they tell me that what they found, they don't think has any significance. They ask whether I would like it, and I would say yes, because we've already spent so many thousands of dollars for this debris. might want to put it in the museum.
We made the good argument that it was already disturbed. Well, maybe we just might find something. But at what cost?
Yeah.
So, it's hard enough to bear this cost without the contract to complicate things and wasting the time of the archaeologist that our contracts, the contracts with us and the contractor.
Yeah,
So
I,
we own the money.
right, I understand that, but it does feel like, we're trying to force a round peg into a square hole too, because the contractor is trying to deal with weather, there can be seasonal changes, and it's not the easiest project to manage because it is on New York State Highway. Right, this is not like a rural road, this is a very challenging project to manage. And we've been in regular communication on a variety of topics with this contractor. I found them to be very responsive.
Then I go back to the original point, and should I press the matter to get that reimbursed, or am I making more trouble than it's worth?
Take a look at the numbers and, let us know what you think.
Okay, I will quantify the specific amount within that budget bill, and then we can decide what's worth for something. Don't do it immediately. You do it at the end of the job too.
Yeah,
I think it'd be fantastic if the state helped us take a closer look at why we're doing what we're doing. It's the best use of limited,
Yeah.
taxpayer resources.
Sometimes you'll get the sheriff from Hippo, and say we want archaeology. Or the Hippos, let's say Stockbridge, Muncie, and the Governor Nation says we have no issue, but then Shippo and Albany can ask for it.
Right.
You have 5 different entities, any one of which should ask for it.
right. Yeah, it's interesting too that like the 1910 digging up is like so well done, you know what I mean? Like so well documented too. It's like, yeah. Oh, well,
Just
we
know
can
where-
revise on all of that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Before we continue, I did have a couple of notes regarding the budget, because we went ahead and already adopted it. I know it's a versus following, we did have one question in the public first opened at our last meeting. But Kitty Brown had asked about a revenue line for F2378. This is related to water, and it said revenue from other governments. So the question was, what other governments? So the revenue line for $1.19 of revenue into the water fund, and the way it sorts out, SUNY New Paltz pays us approximately $818,000, and the town water districts outside of the village contribute $371,000. So I think I actually just looked at this today in terms of what percentage is SUNY relative to all metered water, leading water fund, and it was, I looked at like a 4 or 5 year average, and it was like almost 30%. Because someone was asking a question on social media about when the school is on the break, how much less consumption do we see? Because we do see less consumption, and just looking at it during that 1 week period of spring break this year, it probably reduced the total consumption by about 14%. So approximately half of what the college consumes in its entirety. And I bet you, when you're looking at a spring break period versus a summer period, there's probably different times when the school is quieter. So, I know that June is definitely the month that New Paltz uses the least amount of water, curiously, even less than January. But that's because probably that's when the fewest happening, not the senior. That's all I had as far as budget notes that I forgot to speak about earlier before we closed the public hearing. And then, Dylan, do you want to, we can go out of order a little bit because we're on this agenda. So You can chat with us about what was here just about your topic, and obviously you're putting up to say, but if you have the option, if you want to leave, you don't have to. It's a big targeting. I appreciate it. I would if I could, but I should probably do what 10 minutes and do. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all the efforts you guys have been doing. Basically, I was working with Minute Smart Coalition of New Paltz, which I've been a member of for just over 2 years, and we were, as many people are, including Alex, looking at the idea of a waste reduction event for campus. It's been done on and off several times. The last efforts, I believe, were coordinated by Laura Petit, who I just got off the phone with. I have reached out to several campus organizations, several departments, and basically as of right now, it's a very grassroots effort. It's going to utilize student volunteers for actual pickup and facilitation of assessing the items on site, making sure we're not taking things that are going to be thrown away because of their quality. And basically what it's going to be is right now the only aspect is a actual move out day on the 16th to collect things as people are coming out, because access to the dorm facilities has been a bit of an issue. Trying to get in touch with anyone on campus has been kind of like being run around while having to pull out my teeth at the same time. They're very busy and they're not able to really take on anything else, which I fully understand. But right now I'm trying to see if we can get the old bins that Laura used to facilitate clothing and smaller donations throughout the move out week. Which will kind of just minimize actual work we have to do on the main day. And then we are facilitating transportation to whichever storage location we choose. We're going to utilize Alex's bus for most of it. And we're also going to have volunteers from the community bring it here or somewhere else to assess, clean, have a lovely individual do it for probably 2 days, just here sitting for fun. And as of right now, the main plan is to facilitate clothing donations to family New Paltz. And then based on the food donations we get, I'd like to split them between the family and free food church community to hopefully provide some supplies to get kitchen efforts started. So I am before the board today because myself and Trustee Murray, alongside some volunteers over a year ago, painted the firehouse just so it could kind of be used for community space, and as of to my knowledge, I don't believe it's really been utilized yet. And if space is available, I'm doing this completely out of my own pocket with no support of any actual organization kind of picking it up. And I requested that we use some of the space to very briefly store its items. A lot of them would quickly be moved out for clothing and food donations, and then the only issue is with dorm furniture and things that would be left over. I would probably work in coordination again with the Methodist Church. I would reach out to them at Great Sarman, as they usually have a setup they do with the tents where people can kind of just grab whatever they want. And based on what's happened in the past, that entire system has resulted in less than a garbage bag. So the events in the past has picked up over 5 tons of waste. As of right now, the only thing the village should do is allow them to use some of the space for probably from May 16th to the end of May, to allow me to do basically everything, facilitate donations, and then I would be able to have the space cleared out by August 1st if necessary.
Yeah, well, and then I think one thing I meant to bring up earlier this week, and here it is now. So I just emailed people about somebody else on campus. I think we could both try tomorrow. I think I have her some. And a current intern heard about that, so you might be able to get some more support. But I think we might be able to get, if we also take fridges and work with the coolest recycling thing. Again, we might be able to get some more climate smart points. So that's like a pain because like I personally don't know how many fridges I can lift, but maybe one.
So from my understanding, mini fridges aren't really allowed on campus. Like they are, but you can only have a microwave in tandem with one, which is an entire rental program. So
Oh, so they're not even an issue anymore?
not to, since I was on campus in 2018, I mean, it's literally,
Never
you
mind.
give them like $80 for the semester, and it's, you get a wonderful 2-in-1 micro fridge that turns off the Wi-Fi when you use it.
There you go. Okay, so never mind.
I'll be in
I'm just trying to
touch
think
with
of
Eco Allies, NIPER, who I think you will be speaking about right now.
Yeah.
So I have
Oh, no, I
about,
was thinking of the sustainability program.
also I have an RA in the program who's going to be able to distribute printed materials, which I'm currently working on, as well as the things that we actually know. So it's, I think I have about 4 organizations I reached out to so far. I just spoke to Connecticut Simply Environmental Task Force just because I hadn't really done it yet. But past that, once I have storage approved, I'll be moving on to confirming transportation and then student volunteers.
Yeah, and I think once we have that storage part done, like a call to action, other people in the community
Oh, yeah.
who
I already have
part of
like
this
15
20
people.
years ago will kind of, when I first started off with my smart meeting, like it just like had light bulbs go off or people like, we did that once.
There's a lot of stuff where it's
Yeah.
like efforts, but people usually end up moving on and it doesn't always get picked up by an organization. So,
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Village Hall.
and
I was thinking also if we could we should do better than, not better than our predecessors, but like do perfect and like have a running dock with all this work that you're doing. That way it doesn't die with us.
Yeah.
so the big thing I'm trying to do is this. The effort itself is very piecemeal and very grassroots because I'm attempting to understand how campus runs as of right now. There are 4 kind of dorm complexes. There's the Old Main Quad, there's Parker Quad, there's the new buildings all the way south, and then there's the suite facilities. And each of those, based on the year of the student, the type of living situation, a lot of them are going to have different things they're donating. For instance, suite buildings are going to have a lot more dorm furniture, box stands, and things like that. So doing this, I'm kind of really going to try to put my feet on the ground and understand how much waste is created and what kind. So in the future, if I actually end up finding it who's willing to do this as part of an organization or anything, we can kind of say, we can have an outline. So as of right now, me being in the calls, I'd like to facilitate this until someone else is willing to grab it. But the big thing is I want to put in the work to make sure it doesn't, if it ever gets dropped off again, it can be picked up.
So I think what's exciting, I'm super happy that you're working on this, but I think what's unique about this particular time period is that we have access to this garage. And we did clean up the garage a great deal, and actually it has been used by a number of different groups, like families.
The farmers market was in there for
The cannabis farmers market used it, but other families have used it for like, family parties that.
Oh, it's space rental. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
And I've also spent a ton of time showing it to numerous groups who said thanks but no thanks. So why? So it's a very curious space because it's big, but not big enough.
Yeah.
It's got a slanted floor with roofs in it. It's got a ceiling that's tall, but not tall enough. It's kind of like, everyone has all these like cool ideas, and when they look at it, they're like their cool idea of what actually
just quite
it
good.
is. But I think and that's what I think it's really great that you guys are looking at this in terms of like, well, let's come up with a plan and, then when we all inevitably move on, who's going to take this over? But I think what's unique about the situation is this garage most likely will not be available in the future. And I actually feel like this garage is so perfect for
Yeah.
this kind of project because it's a big enough space and it's so easily accessible, especially because it's on the ground level.
And I think it'll really help also get the community really hype about this being a thing we do, because this was a thing we did all the time. When I moved here in 2003, it was just like, it was what was done,
It would
you
be sometimes like under tents.
Yeah,
So this is the equivalent of being under tent.
and there's something about like that visibility aspect that just like makes you so much more conscientious about your own waste and like, all of that, so.
Okay, so you're looking to do it for the last, you basically use the garage for the final 2 weeks of May.
Yes.
And then what about hours of
And we said
operation?
something about August as well.
Well, I said up. It's in June, I would say up until June. Up until the end of May. I would love to do something in the fall and facilitate getting items to incoming freshmen who need it the most, so they don't have to spend money. But I also understand asking to use a storage space for the entire summer is a little inconvenience.
Yeah, I think we would want to have it
Yeah.
buttoned up by.
I would say by the end of June, things would be on
The end of June?
or the end of May. End of May.
Okay.
And no, this wouldn't be something that would be a regular basis. This is just kind of getting the groundwork in place and then kind of providing all of the information and kind of how things are done. But next year, we're not, unless things are exactly the same.
Yeah, I just want to be sensitive to the idea that like the project has a finite
Yes.
boundary so that we're not in a situation where the public works team is responsible for absolute cleaning up the garage.
I will also caution you to remember that family will only take things that are clothing wise that are for the current climate. So like, they're not gonna take a bunch of clothes. Yeah. So that stuff you can, there's other places to donate.
Yeah, I'll probably be reaching out to people as a secondary. It's just in terms of actual moving stuff up there, some of the stuff, but I kind of put myself in the spot, so I'm willing to do whatever it takes because,
I have some ideas about possibility.
yeah.
What about hours of operation? Are you anticipating, or will it work if it's negative two, like daytime hours?
Yeah, as of right now, I wasn't requesting to open the firehouse to the public. I was simply requesting to use it as a storage space to kind of set everything. But if we were.
Well, that's what I was asking about, like your access.
Oh, yes, that would be absolutely open. 9 AM to 5 PM. Whatever works for you guys. I live up the block, so I'll make it quick.
Okay,
Cool.
what about weekends?
I'd love to use them, but I mean, it's whatever you guys can provide in terms of access to a space.
Sure, so 9 to 6, 7 to 2. Okay. You guys, does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we allow Dylan and his team to utilize the space that was formerly the base for our fire equipment from, what's the start date?
So,
We May.
last 2 weeks of May.
Okay, for the last 2 weeks of May. From 9 AM to 6 PM, 7 days.
Second,
On favor?
See there. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate you guys.
thank you.
So we already handled, items 1 and 2 on this business agenda, so I'm gonna move on to number 3, so this is just an update. So we're ready to move forward, with the installation of the array on the fire station. We looked closely at the size of the array, and then we also looked at, because when we put the RFP out, it was based on consumption of 2023, but if you actually look at consumption in 2024, there was a hair more. So we're like, might it make sense to up the size of the array? And it seems like there is an opportunity to increase it, but we want to be careful that we're still ending up with a net meter project. So basically, the maximum size project would be 110% of the energy of the fire station. So we have Lighthouse taking a look at, they've already eyeballed the size of the project. So, this is basically just an update, no action required for us. It's really just anticipating that we'll talk a little bit more. And then we're gonna get the cost estimate, and then I believe we have to go back to St. Hudson, go back to next survey, ask them for a tweak to the plan. But it seems well worth it, this way we have some flexibility, because it would kind of be a little frustrating to have like an almost net zero building.
Yeah.
To a net zero building.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing else on that. I got a call from Brian Slack from the Ulster County Transportation Council. He confirmed receipt of our Village of New Paltz expression of interest letter from March of 2025, where we propose that federal transportation funds be used to address New Paltz's Main Street safety. Brian shared encouraging news that he felt like it is worth investigating how this could be done. This is like technically careful stuff, which the county planning department has a lot of expertise in, figuring out how to move forward. And then in terms of like, who will be responsible for the match, who will be responsible for administering the project, in terms of, creating a design and then having a scoping process using an engineering firm to come up with that plan. So, lots of things have to occur. But Brian provided us with encouraging feedback that it seemed like it was something that
that his team would be interested in working on. And he just wanted to confirm with myself and report back to you guys. You know, I don't think we actually need to take take an action tonight to say that, yes, we our thumbs up because we've already submitted an expression of interest letter. But I thought it did make sense to share it publicly that they were in receipt of the letter. And, you know, this is all related to the intersections that our community has struggled with, you know, where we wholeheartedly believe they should be a lot more pedestrian friendly and vehicle friendly for that matter too. At Oakwood, Church, Grove, Huguenot, and Water Street, all on Main Street. So, you know, these are all New York State highway intersections. And is there a way that we can get New York State to help us make them much safer for pedestrians? So that was encouraging. You know, this is, you know, stuff that we've been working on for years and years and years and years. So I'm sure it'll continue to take a long time to realize these projects, but I you know, it was nice to get an encouraging phone call as opposed to no chance of never seeing safer intersection. So no action needed. And the next item has to do with the public hearing that is being asked of the town and village by the developers for New Paltz Apartments. So our attorney is under the impression, you know, based on his reading of municipal law, section 704 and 705, that annexation is part of the joint public hearing and the joint action by the town and village. So the town had unilaterally set a public hearing for May 15th. There are some issues with that date in terms of like who was available to attend. I believe their attorney interpreted the New York State general municipal law a little bit differently. So our attorney and the town's attorney are working on that. You know, I just think it would make the most sense for our community if we had a collaboratively agreed upon date, you know, to have this public hearing, because, you know, that is, I believe, what is expected. Any questions or?
And it's just, it would be so hard to keep track, like, the public, like, who said what and which line, like, yeah. That would be going.
Our reading of the law is that it needs to be.
Yeah,
joint.
that's why the law is that.
Okay, so we'll be sharing information on that when we know more. And then item number 6, we just handled when we chatted with Dylan. Item number 7, so the regatta is scheduled for June 8th. And what's interesting about parades and events is that parades are approved by the town of New Paltz. So if the town is going to get additional insurance for a parade that they approve, and then the organizer or the town are asking the village to contribute for that additional money, you can certainly consider that. It's just, you know, it's like this ongoing confusion within our community about how parades work and who approves them, who's responsible for them. You know, I guess the additional insurance costs from the town's insurance carrier is $275. You know, we have liability insurance for events that are in the village. So, you know, when this was brought to our attention, because the village was being asked to contribute $275, we all so reached out to our insurance carrier, and Nancy Bronco, our treasurer, reminded me that, you know, another thing that's super important for the regatta is that you want participants who are getting in the water to sign a waiver. So in addition to an additional insurance cost, there's another waiver that would be required, and then that waiver has to be reviewed by our attorney or the town's attorney, so.
Yeah,
You know,
just
kind of like
speak
the
for-
approach to, you know, having annual cleanup, you know, having a path for events like this. That we do year in, year out would be super helpful, as opposed to reinventing the wheel. You know, asking people to research it each new time. And then also having to figure out town versus village parades and who's there for what and who pays for what every single time. So we're gonna receive more information from both of you guys.
Yeah, it's like, that's something that, Dr. P.T. Tobin and I started to work on, and did a whole deep dive of so many other communities how to do this. And it's like, however more clear we make it on our end, it's a joint issue, and like, that's all there is to these processes. It would be great though if there was like one point where everyone can go and get that information. It's like, what do you want to do? Want to do this? Okay, cool. Here's your first step, blah, 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 because it is a pain and it does seem to be different every single time.
I feel like examples like this strongly support the case for reorganized government, where you end up with one board instead of a two-headed monster.
I just don't understand why we would be asked to pay for it still.
I thought it was curious too that the response I received was that because it's in the village, which I've really struggled with that as a response since the village is also in town.
Inside the town, yeah.
See if there's any way for pride to like add in or something, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm on that whole looking at the event insurance, additional insurance thing. So I'll just do some digging in my other roles as a community member to see if there's a way to help out with that, but still that would be something that could wind up being fundraised.
Yeah,
Or it's interesting too, in that we have two layers of government that both have liability insurance for events.
Yeah, and then why is it not enough for a bunch of things at one time? Sorry.
And I mean, when I have to submit every year, I do it for the Juneteenth parade. It's done with the town and then they send it over to us and it's on our consent agenda tonight. And when I pay to do that, I pay the town, I have nothing to do with them, I don't. And everything goes through the town because it's the police that we have to pay, and, I don't
Right.
understand.
And now, because our treasurer remembered that you want to have waivers, now our attorney will go ahead and
Right.
spend time and billable hours
Exactly.
reviewing waiver.
Exactly. So I don't
But this is
understand.
it, it's like
Okay, so.
figuring out complicated puzzles on
wait.
a daily basis.
Very cool.
Okay, so no action is needed regarding Regatta, because, we have a little time before that is all sorted, and it will get sorted, it's just, how do we do it as efficiently and effectively as possible? Next item is I'd like to, well, item number 8, we already moved. We adopted the budget, we have a resolution here adopting the budget, so that action was already taken place. Item number 9, I move the resolution for bills and claims.
Second.
All in favor? Any claim board updates that we want to share?
Sure. Also kind of open last week, we have 2 items on the agenda. One including Village Pizza and what their plans are. And it was determined that there's no kind of impact. That's going to move forward. This is going to be Shorty's Nation Ember. And we might be interested in Tim that there's a multi-family building up in Kingston that is the first form-based code application for Ulster County Planning. So that's going to be, I think, 28 units, or something like that. 24 units, 2 bedrooms per unit. It looked pretty good.
Anything else? Mike, did anything that you think is worth sharing? You know, we might as well take advantage of the fact that you're here.
Yeah, sure. Trying to remember, we have a fairly small application for on North Chestnut for a stoop that is being replaced with a front porch. We have the Shorty's application that Bill just spoke about. The 147, 149, 151 North Chestnut project continues review. That public hearing was held open until next week. That'll be the third public hearing for that application. And we have a expansion on Lincoln Place to a 3-bedroom unit from a 2-bedroom unit. Oh, and on our next meeting, we have an application for a martial arts studio in the basement of the old Wells Fargo. It will basically, it's not tied to the gym, but it will, it potentially fit well with the gym for a martial arts studio.
Any ZBA?
Last night, the 147, 149, 151 project received their side yard area variance. The need for it was because of the wetlands to the north and the fact that for a project that size, they need 2 points of fire access. So it's almost impossible to get the 0 to 15 side yard setback. They did work with us, though, to secure a shared access with 145, which will help quite a bit. And we have another application that's set for public hearing had public hearing last night, set for decision next month for a small basketball court on Prospect Street that was constructed in the side yard. The owner didn't realize he needed a variance. He's it before us for a variance for this basketball court. That's it. And we have a full ZBA now. We have 5 active members and 2 alternates. And I'll use the time to plug. We still have 2 openings for planning board alternates. Yes.
And I thought it was also interesting that important point that was discussed regarding the new restaurant, which Bill just told us is called Shorty's in the Village Pizza Space, is that community members and people on board encouraging the applicant to preserve the ice cream that's on the.
Yes. And because of that, the applicant is now looking into investing in securing ice cream machines, which are apparently quite expensive. But
System being a very expensive machine to operate because of your water bill.
He didn't mention that, but he just said that he was very sticker shock surprised at the price of commercial ice cream machines. But he is absolutely also at the request of the design review board is absolutely going to leave the ice cream cone sign and is looking at getting it refurbished slightly and is looking to add that to soft serve ice cream to the menu in some manner.
Yeah, I don't know that it's local governments. It's our responsibility to get involved, but we did discuss this, years ago when we were looking at how we manage our water consumption, and that was like noted as something that uses tons of water. It's like ice machines and ice cream machines that just run water through the system and then just drains out into the sewer system. It's not recycled. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I remember a
You
baby.
might have a lead though on
business getting rid of machine that I have done. So make me a note that I'll see when I watch this later. Sorry.
Okay, I think that's all we have, so I will adjourn.
Okay.
Favor?
Bye.